How did these 20,000 corpses in Colombia's airport come to be? This news report was just a few days ago. The United Nations received an anonymous tip that said that there is still human trafficking going on in Damascus and that they are hiding drugs inside people's bodies and sending them to America. After receiving this tip, the United Nations didn't take it seriously at all. The Committee on Enforced Disappearances of the United Nations directly went over to investigate. They said, "Let's see what's going on here. We have to give the Americans an explanation." And then, on December 5th, the day before yesterday, the committee didn't find anything after investigating. They were about to leave when they arrived at the El Dorado International Airport in Bogotá, the capital of Colombia. They happened to receive another anonymous tip saying that there was something there. The committee was very nervous. So, by chance, the Committee on Enforced Disappearances opened the door to a large hangar. When they opened the hangar door, my God, their pores stood up. It was really a sea of corpses. There were more than 20,000 corpses of different degrees of decay piled up. I can't even imagine what the scene looked like. It scared the investigators so much that they sat down. Now everyone is curious. Where did these 20,000 people come from? How did they die? Because Colombia has a history of forced recruitment of minors, human trafficking, civil war, displacement, and missing persons. This caused a lot of missing persons. These 20,000 people were all these people. Does it make sense? But in fact, it's nonsense. Even if these 20,000 corpses were all homeless people or people who disappeared during the Civil War, but have you ever thought about one thing? Did they come here themselves? Who brought them here? Have you ever thought about this? How did they get here? Who brought them here? In other words, it's nonsense to say that this is normal. It's a big conspiracy. And behind this incident, it's not likely to be a civil war or immigration disappearance. If we had to speculate, Colombia is close to both the US and Mexico, and it has been involved in the confrontation between the two parties in the US. Now that 20,000 corpses have gathered, it's terrifying. This is really scary. Today, let's talk about how to transport 20,000 corpses secretly to a large international airport in the capital of a country without being noticed by the airport. First, we need to understand how much space these 20,000 corpses will occupy. About this question, the slave traders in Europe have given us the most economical solution. This is a special drug smuggling ship. There is a specially designed slave cargo hold on it. It is as long and wide as the slave ship, but the height of the cargo hold is less than 1.2 meters. Black slaves sit in rows, with one sitting on another's thighs. Each black slave only needs a floor area of 40 centimeters each way, or they lie side by side on the deck. I counted, and there were approximately 300 black slaves lying on this deck. That means we only need 67 such drug smuggling ships to carry these 20,000 corpses. Of course, we can't do it openly and put the corpses on the deck. So now we're going to Colombia, and that's where the container really shines. It's got a lot of volume and it's very private. And considering we need to transport bodies, the first thing we have to eliminate is the dry cargo containers. The refrigerated containers are a good choice. A standard 40-foot refrigerated container has these dimensions. It's 11.57 meters long, 2.29 meters wide, and 2.26 meters high. There's a little bit of extra height there because we want to allow for air circulation to prevent the bodies from rotting. We want to stack them at 2 meters or less. Assuming each body lies flat about 1.8 meters long, 0.6 meters wide, and 0.3 meters high. If you assume smaller people, you can save another 10% of space. We get a 1.8 by 0.6 by 1.8 stacking unit. Each stacking unit can hold 6 bodies. So a standard 40-foot refrigerated container can hold about 120 bodies. That's 186 containers to handle 20,000 bodies. Now, most roll-on/roll-off ships carry about 340-foot containers. So 20,000 bodies would be enough for one ship. Now we're at the dock. Now, every day there are containers coming in and out of the airport to carry freight. But the El Dorado International Airport only handles 580,000 tons of freight per year. That's about 1,600 tons per day. That's about 26 tons per 40-foot container. That's only about 60 containers. So with 3 times the normal amount of containers coming in, it looks a little conspicuous. We'll have to think of other ways. Every day, there are also large vehicles coming in and out of the airport. We'll eliminate the tow trucks and shuttle buses, which don't have much freight capacity and open interiors that could expose the bodies. The 2 more reasonable choices are the airline food truck and the large fuel tanker. The airline food truck is basically a small container mounted on a common chassis. It lifts up to the cabin door height using hydraulic scissors to provide meals for crew members and passengers. These trucks are very common at airports and there are many of them. No one will ask why so many food trucks are here today. Large fuel tankers are even more reasonable. As an international airport, the demand for aviation fuel must be quite large. A large fuel tanker can carry over 20 tons, easily filling up a 40-foot container. It's sealed well, making it the perfect vehicle for transporting bodies. The rest is simple. We need to find an abandoned hangar and pile all the bodies in the containers, the food trucks, and the fuel tankers. That's what we have now. Let's calculate the value of this hangar full of bodies. We assume that this batch of goods are fresh bodies within 24 hours of death. Here are their prices on the black market. The curator calculated that the total value of the bodies in this hangar is $11.6 billion. Accounting for 3% of Colombia's GDP. So a project that accounts for 3% of the country's annual GDP is a super project that no one knows about. The number of people who die on planes is greater than the number of people who die on planes. The number of people who transfer is greater than the number of people who die. Heaven is too far away and America is too close. The concrete manifestation of Shizaotianling is here. May these innocent souls rest in peace. When they reincarnate, they must be careful.